This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us this Thursday, January 21st. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, President Joe Biden hitting the ground running on his first day in office, issuing a wide range of executive orders to undo former President Donald Trump's legacy and sending Congress a plan on immigration reform that's already facing opposition from Republicans. And with President Trump now out of office, a look back at what his administration accomplished during his time in the White House. A warning for America. We're going to hear from one Christian author on why he sees difficult times ahead. And she's one of the few people on earth to live through not one, but two global pandemics. And the first one was a century ago. All those stories and more are ahead in today's edition of CBN NewsWatch. I want to begin this half hour with President Joe Biden issuing a flurry of executive orders on his first day in office in his move to change direction from the last 4 years. The president signed more than a dozen orders ranging from new initiatives to fight COVID-19 to rejoining the Paris Climate Accords. George Thomas has a look at some of his key actions.
President Biden's first order of business on his first day on the job was to immediately reverse some of his predecessors' key policies and agendas.
Some of the things we're going to be doing are going to be bold and vital, and there's no time to start like today.
Top of his priority, getting the COVID pandemic under control. Biden's first executive order, signed while wearing a mask, requires face coverings on all federal lands, along with a pledge to deliver 100 million vaccine shots in his first 100 days in office.
It's requiring, as I said all along, where I have authority, mandating masks be worn, social distancing be kept on federal property, on interstate commerce, etc.
With a stroke of several pens, the incoming president then signed more than a dozen other executive orders, the most a president has ever done on his first day.
An incredibly broad scope of bold and aggressive actions, some of which are designed to roll back some of the most egregious actions of the Trump administration.
Among them, Biden repealed Trump's travel ban, preventing people from predominantly Muslim and African countries from entering the United States. And as part of his campaign promise to re-engage the world, the president rejoined the World Health Organization and the controversial Paris Climate Accords, which President Trump pulled out of. The president also revoked plans for a Keystone XL oil pipeline.
The United States continues to be one of the world's largest emitters of greenhouse gases, and we need to put in place policies and take steps here to address that as well.
Some argue nixing the Keystone Pipeline project and rejoining the Paris Treaty will hurt American workers and further weaken an economy already reeling from COVID.
The biggest concerns with the Paris Climate Accords is that it would impose a lot of costs on American families and businesses without much climate benefit to show for it. The reality is regulations that are promulgated on the energy industry are going to increase those prices, which are going to have dramatic ripple effects throughout the economy, disproportionately impacting the lowest income families in America.
The Biden administration plans to sign more executive orders in the weeks ahead, including rolling back restrictions on abortion funding and revoking the ban on transgenders from serving in the military. George Thomas, CBN News.
President Biden is betting big on another initiative, immigration reform. In addition to an executive order stopping work on the border wall, Biden sent his plan for immigration reform to Congress. It would give legal status and a path to citizenship for anyone in the U.S. before January 1st. That's an estimated 11 million people. Republican lawmakers and conservative groups call it a massive amnesty for people in the U.S. illegally, while several pro-immigration groups want him to go even further. As Chuck Holton reports, another test is coming from a new migrant caravan in Central America, now heading north to the U.S.
Thousands of Honduran migrants clashed with police in the Guatemalan border town of Chiquimula. They're heading for the United States, determined to get in line for a promised amnesty by the new Biden administration. But the caravan met stiff resistance and was broken up by Guatemalan security forces.
They were able to break up the migrant caravan, and the immigrants just scatter. They had to scatter. Some are going back. The last numbers I saw from immigration department was around 1,500 Hondurans that were sent back, but there are still around 4,000 to 5,000 that are still in the country but are scattered.
Changes to U.S. immigration policy by the Biden administration are motivating these Hondurans to keep trying.
We all know that during President Donald Trump's administration, the United States practically ordered Guatemala and Honduras to do something about the caravans, and also Mexico. But they're saying that because of Biden is about to take office, maybe his immigration policies are going to be more relaxed, and he's going to offer immigration possibilities to anybody.
In a Senate hearing Tuesday to vet Alejandro Mayorkas, Biden's pick to head the Department of Homeland Security, the nominee spoke of Biden's commitment to providing relief for the caravans.
President-elect Biden and people who will be joining his incoming administration have spoken about the fact that there is a commitment to follow our asylum laws, to enforce our asylum laws, and that means to provide humanitarian relief for those individuals who qualify for it.
But Border Patrol officers already have their hands full, as overwhelmed hospitals in Mexico send thousands of COVID refugees streaming into the U.S. every day. So far, 21 Border Patrol officers have died from the virus in the past year.
When it comes to the individuals that are just crossing illegally, they're not taking much precautions. A lot of these individuals, obviously, they're coming across. They're not wearing any type of mask. They're just trying to, get here when agents are trying to catch them.
There were reports that a lot of immigrants in the border gave positive diagnosis on COVID, and some were infected. So that's why the government decided to break it up and send it back, because it could be a health hazard.
Pandemic or not, the Biden administration's talk of a sweeping amnesty for illegal immigrants is foremost in the minds of these Hondurans. And the incoming DHS secretary knows he has his work cut out.
That cannot be accomplished with just the flick of a switch and turned on in day one, that it will take time to build the infrastructure and capacity so that we can enforce our laws as Congress intended.
Translation, get ready for a huge wave at the U.S. southern border. I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Scientists are reporting troubling signs. Recent mutations of COVID-19 may modestly curb the effectiveness of 2 current vaccines, although they stress the shots still protect against the disease. Scientists are trying to figure out if the new mutation of the virus from the United Kingdom, along with new variations from California, is behind the surge in infections in Los Angeles. There's concern about how the current mutations could impact the effectiveness of the vaccines.
Needs to be done in the laboratory to confirm whether or not the vaccine is going to be protective.
Another worry is future mutations could undermine the vaccines. A federal court in North Dakota has struck down a directive known as the transgender mandate. It required medical professionals and religious healthcare providers to perform gender transition procedures on patients, including children, even when the measure violates their beliefs. The mandate was issued in 2016 under the Obama administration, forcing members of the healthcare community to violate their medical judgment and religious beliefs. Beckett Law filed a lawsuit on behalf of several religious organizations against the mandate in 2016. Tuesday's ruling is the second from a federal court blocking the transgender mandate. Coming up, President Trump's tumultuous 4 years are over, and while critics are breathing a sigh of relief, his supporters say he accomplished a great deal in a short time. We're going to take a look at those achievements when we come back.
Before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire, Monday night at 9:30. The Global Lane takes you around the world providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on The Global Lane.
Watch The Global Lane, Thursday night at 9:30.
Donald Trump had one of the most controversial presidencies in American history. He was the third president to be impeached and the first to be impeached twice. While some critics try to diminish his achievements, his supporters argue there have been many. Senior Washington correspondent Tara Mergener brings us that story.
Donald Trump leaves office after one of the most turbulent and consequential terms of any U.S. commander-in-chief. But much like Trump himself, his bold record is hard to ignore.
I, Amy Coney Barrett, do solemnly swear.
I will tell each senator that I revere the Constitution.
I am honored and I am humbled to be here.
Reshaping the courts will likely be Donald Trump's longest-lasting legacy. With help from the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell,
the Senate will vote on this nomination this year.
Stocking the federal judiciary with conservatives at a record pace. 226 federal judges in just 4 years.
I am putting pro-life justices on the court,
including 3 Supreme Court justices.
It is my profound honor to be the first president in history to attend the March for Life.
Throughout his presidency, Mr. Trump pursued a pro-life agenda, becoming the first president to speak at the annual March for Life, pushing to defund Planned Parenthood and urging Congress to end late-term abortions.
We're working very hard with Little Sisters of the Poor, right? You know about that.
Plus signing an executive order protecting religious groups objecting to the contraceptive mandate in Obamacare.
This president took such strong steps early on. He's the first president in American history to ever convene an international conference not once but twice on religious liberty.
He earned and maintained strong support among evangelicals.
Well, it's a pleasure now to introduce a man who is in the news almost all the time, Donald Trump.
Let's pray together, may we?
Yes.
Some calling him the best friend Christians have had in the White House.
Father, I thank you that we have a president, President Donald Trump, who believes in the power of prayer.
President Trump slashed taxes.
He claims middle-class taxpayers will be the biggest winners,
spurring economic growth that broke stock market records, made the country energy independent, and reduced unemployment to the lowest level in half a century, while lifting median black household incomes to record levels.
So he's delivered on quite a few of the promises that he's made, but nobody wants to admit that.
When the COVID-19 pandemic threatened that economy and the country, President Trump ordered an unprecedented effort that created and produced vaccines in less than a year.
Tonight, another potential breakthrough, a second vaccine showing success against COVID.
He enacted reforms to make our justice system fair for all.
Criminal justice reform. Everybody said it couldn't be done.
And forged peace deals in the Middle East for the first time in generations.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed of the United Arab Emirates, where they agreed to finalize a historical peace agreement.
securing the Abraham Accords to advance peace and prosperity, and kept his promise the U.S. would recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital and move the American embassy there.
Without President Trump's determination, resolve, courage, we would not be here today.
After renegotiating trade deals he insisted hurt the U.S., the Trump administration labeled China as the new geopolitical threat of the 21st century.
What they did to this country with trade and trade deals, NAFTA, we had no deal with China. I mean, we had no deal. And it was like just easy pickings.
He placed sanctions on top Chinese companies and banned TikTok because of national security concerns. How history remembers Donald Trump remains to be seen. Many wonder if his relentless challenge of election results and the deadly storming of the Capitol this month will forever overshadow his accomplishments. In Washington, I'm Tara Mergener, CBN News.
Still ahead, a leading conservative author has a warning about what may lie ahead for our country. We'll hear what he has to say right after this.
I am Regent's first ROTC graduate student.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm Ephraim Graham. Welcome to Studio 5.
Get on it.
All that's new and now in the world of uplifting entertainment with celebrity interviews.
There's a higher contribution I will make.
Musical performances.
I'll give you my best praise.
Plus movie and TV news.
See it and be uplifted.
On Studio 5. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern at cbn.com/Studio 5.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Welcome back to CBN News Watch. Capitol Hill riots, impeachment, and big tech censorship. Is this the new norm for American politics? How can President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris and other government leaders bring about national unity? On this week's episode of The Global Lane, American conservative senior editor Rod Dreher has a warning for what he sees ahead for the U.S.
Father Tomislav Kolakovic was a Croatian priest in the 1940s doing anti-Nazi underground work in Zagreb. He got a tip that the Gestapo was coming for him, so he escaped the country and went and hid out in neighboring Slovakia, his mother's homeland. When he arrived there in 1943, he began to teach at the Catholic University. He told his students, the good news is the Germans are going to lose this war. The bad news is the communists are going to be ruling this country when the war is over. The first thing they're going to do is come after the church. We have got to be ready for it. So what Father Kolakovic did was prepare prayer groups of students who would come together to pray, to study Scripture, but also to study the signs of the times and to figure out how to prepare for coming persecution. Father Kolakovic's prayer group spread throughout the country very quickly. Every town of any size had one. Now, his bishops told him, Father, you're being alarmist, you're scaring people, it will never happen. But Father Kolakovic knew the communist mindset, and he knew what was going to happen when they took power. Sure enough, Gary, as soon as the Iron Curtain came down in that country, the communists came after the church with a stern, horrible persecution. The groups that Father Kolakovich set up were the backbone of the underground church for the next 40 years. I firmly believe that we're in a similar moment here in America now. Christians of all kinds, Catholic, Protestant, Orthodox, have got to take advantage of this moment of liberty we have to get our networks in place to prepare for persecution.
Yes, a good friend of mine actually was in Prague, is from Prague, and was there in 1968 as a child when those tanks moved in. So big tech, free speech. Is this just a momentary blip on the radar screen, Rod, or do you expect this will get worse?
Oh, no, this is definitely going to get worse. In my book, Live Not by Lies, I talk about this as the beginning of soft totalitarianism. Soft totalitarianism because it's not going to have gulags and secret police, the things that the Soviets had. Rather, this is something that's going to be done mostly by big tech, limiting access to the economy and keeping it so that only those who conform with what the regime wants can participate in the economy. We're already seeing it happen now in China with the social credit system there, which only lets people who conform to what the government wants have full access to the economy and travel, good jobs, universities, etc. I think we're going to see an informal version of that happen right here in America, and the hammer is going to come down on conservatives and traditional Christians.
So what do you think will happen in the days ahead with the Joe Biden presidency? Now, you mentioned soft totalitarianism. Are we advancing down that road under Joe? What do you expect?
Yeah, we absolutely are. Joe Biden has already talked about how he's going to pass domestic terrorism legislation. We're going to see people designated as terrorists, people who have no interest in terrorism at all, who do not support violence, but who simply question the way things are done in this country, and they do so from the right. I believe that Christians, conservative Christians, are going to be targeted too, and there will be no discrimination between us peaceful conservative Christians and those who want violence. But here's an important point too, Gary. It's not simply going to come from the government, and may not mostly come from the government. It's going to come from big business and big tech, who will be using their freedom in our free market society to marginalize and oppress deplorables, which include political conservatives and religious conservatives.
Well, we've even seen some of that already with the COVID-19 pandemic. If you are against wearing a mask, you become ostracized on by big tech. They'll even shut you down. So how does the pandemic play into all of this?
Well, what the pandemic has done, and I should say that I believe the pandemic is real, but what the pandemic has done is accustomed us to being controlled. It has put us in a position and a mindset of fear and control, and where we can be open to being told what to do by the government. And I think that this has been a dry run, if you will, for greater control. And I think that insofar as Christians have not used this pandemic time, to prepare ourselves for the long run, for what it would mean to be faithful under a long period of oppression, then we have wasted our time. There's no more time to waste.
Well, more on that then, Rod, as we wrap this up. Then how should conservatives and Christians, Catholics, evangelicals in this country respond to all this? What do we need to do?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is root ourselves as firmly as possible in our faith and in community. I was talking last night to an ex-military intelligence man, a Christian, who said that no Christian should believe that anything we say online or electronically mediated is safe. It will be stored somewhere. It sounds paranoid, but it's not paranoid. This is in my book, Live Not by Lies. What we have to do most of all, though, is prepare to suffer. We in the American church know nothing about suffering. We've had it good for a long time. The people who grew up under communism, I talk to in my book, Live Not by Lies, they know what it's like to suffer for the faith. We have to start learning from their experience and be prepared to be steadfast and to suffer without hating our enemy.
That's on the Global Lane. I want to remind you can hear about more important stories and trends in the news on the Global Lane tonight at 8:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel and the CBN News app. Coming up, she is likely one of the few people in the world to live through not one, but two global pandemics. The first was a century ago. We're going to bring you her story when we come back.
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
She's 106 years old and likely one of the very few people to survive 2 global pandemics. Zília de Carvalho Morley of Brazil, born in 1914, was a girl when the virus called the Spanish flu killed millions around the world from 1918 to 1920. She remembers that time saying everyone in Brazil caught that flu. Back then, no vaccines were available, but Wednesday, Morley got her vaccination for COVID-19. She said, "I think this vaccine is going to be very good. It is in the hands of God." Time now for your Thursday Thankful, and today I hope you'll join me in this prayer of gratitude. Father, I'm grateful that while your anger may last for a moment, your favor lasts a lifetime. You don't keep score. You don't hold a grudge. You forgive. Now help me to extend that same grace to those who may hurt me. Help me to forgive. With that word, I encourage you to make today a thankful Thursday. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can also find them online anytime at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories we've shared today. You can do that by emailing us, newswatch@cbn.com. You can, of course, also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We would certainly love to hear from you. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make this a thankful Thursday. We'll see you right back here, same time and place tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless.